Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Alexandra, and welcome to Royal Film Fridays, a new weekly series on my channel where I review and recommend the best and the worst films, television series, and documentaries, including foreign language films, television series, and documentaries about royalty as well as the aristocracy. So, since the 95th Annual Academy Awards will take place tomorrow on Sunday, March 12th, in my hometown of LA, I thought I would share with you my top 10 list of Oscar-nominated and winning films and actors. So let's begin. Coming in at number 10, The King's Speech, directed by Mr. Tom Hopper. The King's Speech won Best Motion Picture of the Year, Best Performance by a Leading Actor, Best Achievement in Directing, and Best Original Screenplay during the 83rd Annual Academy Awards. The film was nominated in 8 other categories, including Best Performance by an Actor and Actress in a Supporting Role, and Best Achievement in Costume Design. The film is based on the true story of King George VI, played by Mr. Colin Firth, and his speech therapist, Mr. Lionel Logue, played by Mr. Geoffrey Rush, and their unique relationship that lasted until the King's passing. Quote, "Radio is taking off as a mass medium. As king, he must speak not only to the nation, but to the people of the British Empire, across the world, and as war looms. Struggling from childhood with a nervous stammer and having tried all the traditional doctors available, the King and Queen Elizabeth put their faith in an Australian therapist and outsider, Lionel Logue." End quote. Overall, The King's Speech is a good film with a strong script and seasoned actors who deserve to be nominated. But do I believe Colin Firth deserved to win Best Actor that year? No, actually I don't. Jeff Bridges, in my opinion, should have won for his amazing performance as Rooster Cogburn in the film True Grit, written and directed by the Coen brothers. So that's just my opinion. But here's a fun fact. John Wayne originally played Rooster Cogburn in the 1968 film with the same name. He won Best Actor for his performance during the 42nd Annual Academy Awards. Coming in at number 9, Mary, Queen of Scots, directed by Mr. Charles Jarrett. Mary, Queen of Scots, starring Vanessa Redgrave and Glenda Jackson, was nominated for 5 Academy Awards, including Best Actress in a Leading Role for Vanessa Redgrave and Best Costume Design during the 44th Annual Academy Awards. As you may know by now, or not, the story takes place in the 16th century. The Catholic Mary, Queen of Scots, quote, engages over 2 decades of religious and political conflict with her cousin, the Protestant Queen Elizabeth I of England, amidst political intrigue in her native land. End quote. I really like this film. Vanessa Redgrave and Glenda Jackson's performances are simply legendary, in my opinion. Do I believe Ms. Redgrave should have won Best Actress? Yes. But Jane Fonda's performance that year in the film Clute was slightly better than the rest. Number 8, Anne of the Thousand Days, directed by, again, Charles Jarrett, was nominated for 10 Oscars, including Best Performance by an Actor for Richard Burton for his portrayal of Henry VIII, Best Performance by an Actress for Genevieve Bujold for her portrayal as Anne Boleyn, and Best Performance by an Actor in a Supporting Role for Anthony Quayle as Cardinal Wolsey during the 42nd Annual Academy Awards. The film won the Oscar for Best Costume Design. Anne of the Thousand Days tells a story that, well, no one's ever heard of before, about Henry VIII, who dumps his first wife, Catherine of Aragon, because she hadn't produced a male heir. So he got a hotter and younger woman to marry him, and her name was Anne. And we all know what happened to poor Anne when she failed to produce a male heir and the stress she was under. What a headache she must have had. Overall, I highly recommend this film, simply for Richard Burton's performance, the set design, and costumes. Number 7, Nicholas and Alexandra, directed by Franklin Schaffner. The film is based on the famous 1967 book entitled Nicholas and Alexandra, an intimate account of the last of the Romanovs and the fall of Imperial Russia, by Robert K. Massey. The film was nominated in 6 categories, including Best Performance for an Actress in a Leading Role for Janet Sussman, Best Motion Picture of the Year, and Best Cinematography during the 44th Annual Academy Awards. The film won Best Art Direction and Costume Design, which was well-deserved. Overall, I love this tragic film. but there are holes in it. It's not perfect, but it holds up, I think, in this day and age. So, well, here's a fun fact for you. After my parents saw this movie, they decided to name me after the last Tsarina of Russia, Alexandra. Yay, me. Number 6, A Royal Affair, directed by Nikolai Arcel. This film was nominated for Best Foreign Language Film during the 85th Annual Academy Awards. The film tells a fascinating true story of King Christian VII of Denmark and the political aspirations of his wife, Queen Caroline Matilda of Denmark, who has a steamy love affair with the king's court physician and philosopher, Johann Friedrich Struensee. Quote, Caroline and Johann dream of a better world for the populace, and through Johann's influence on the king's governess, the power of the aristocracy is diminished and reforms are introduced. But it is only a matter of time before the courtiers regain a hold on their king. End quote. Overall, I love A Royal Affair. Not only due to Alicia Vikander's performance as Queen Caroline Matilda, but it's always nice to see Mr. Mads Mikkelsen on screen. He's truly a gifted actor, plus he's easy on the eyes. So, in my opinion, A Royal Affair should have won Best Foreign Language Film over Amour. Number 5, The Private Life of Henry VIII, directed by Alexandra Korda, was nominated for 2 Oscars, Best Performance by an Actor in a Leading Role, and Outstanding Production during the 6th Annual Academy Awards. Charles Laughton won Best Actor for his portrayal of Henry VIII. The film is, well, not exactly historically accurate. Nonetheless, Mr. Laughton's performance is one of the best portrayals of Henry VIII. Fun fact, The Private Life of Henry VIII was the first film that was not a Hollywood studio film that won an Academy Award. Coming in at number 4, Her Majesty Mrs. Brown, directed by John Madden, was nominated for Best Makeup and Best Performance by an Actress in a Leading Role for Judi Dench during the 70th Annual Academy Awards. Her Majesty Mrs. Brown tells the story of the grieving widow, Queen Victoria, and her friendship with her servant, John Brown. It is 1864. Quote, the court and government are in turmoil. Queen Victoria remains stricken with grief over Prince Albert's death and refuses to carry out any public duties. As her popularity wanes with the British people and there are calls to abolish the monarchy, the Queen's private secretary summons the services of John Brown, her loyal Highland Gilly, to Balmoral to walk the Queen's pony with the hope that a bit of exercise in the fresh air will bring her out of mourning. His arrival is the beginning of an extraordinary relationship, and he soon becomes the Queen's most trusted companion. However, as tongues start wagging within polite society and rumors of an affair are rife, a real crisis in the monarch seems inevitable, and the Queen and John Brown are forced to end their friendship or risk losing everything. End quote. I cannot say enough about this film, but Her Majesty Mrs. Brown is simply wonderful. From the costume design, cinematography, the story, and of course the brilliant performances by Judi Dench and Billy Connolly. This movie is a definite must-watch. Coming in at number 3, Henry V, directed and written for the screen by Kenneth Branagh, was nominated for Best Performance by an Actor in a Leading Role, Best Director, and Best Costume Design. The film won 1 Oscar for Best Costume Design. Based on William Shakespeare's play, quote, young King Henry V of England embarks on the conquest of France in 1415, end quote. Well, what can I say? It's Kenneth Branagh and Shakespeare. A great combination. Number 2, The Favorite, directed by Yorgos Lanthimos. Oh, I can hear the groans from viewers now. This amazing film was nominated for 10 Oscars, including Best Cinematography, Best Costume Design, Best Director, Best Performance by an Actress in a Supporting Role, Best Picture, and Best Original Screenplay, to name a few, during the 91st Annual Academy Awards. Olivia Colman won an Oscar for Best Performance by an Actress in a Leading Role for her portrayal of Queen Anne. Now, I have no doubt many of you are wondering why The Favorite is so high on my list. Well, it's pretty simple. The director's vision of the relationship between Queen Anne, Lady Sarah, and Abigail. Dark, ruthless, cutthroat, complex, quirky, ever-shifting. It's a roller coaster, and I love that. I know the film is not historically accurate, and it was never meant to be, but I admire that the director took a chance. Pretty daring. Another reason why I believe The Favorite is such a great film was the use of varying camera lenses and angles by the director of photography, Robbie Ryan. The black and white costumes, which added another layer to the characters by Sandy Powell, OBE, the production design by Fiona Crombie, and of course the performances by Olivia Colman, Rachel Weisz, Emma Stone, Joe Alwyn, and Nicholas Hoult. So in the end, I highly, highly recommend this film. I totally do. And I know no one's going to agree with me, and that's okay. I accept that. And finally, number 1, The Last Emperor. The Last Emperor was directed by Bernardo Bertolucci and is based on the book From Emperor to Citizen, about the true and incredibly tragic story of Pu Yi. Pu Yi became the Emperor of China at the age of 2 in 1908, was forced to abdicate in 1912, became the chief executive of Manchukuo, a puppet state of Imperial Japan, was imprisoned, and died a humble man at the age of 61 from kidney cancer. The Last Emperor was the second film in the history of the Academy Awards to win every category it was nominated for, and there were 9. Best Picture, Best Cinematography, Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Production Design, Best Costume Design, Best Sound Mixing, Best Film Editing, and Best Director for Bernardo Bertolucci during the 60th Annual Academy Awards. The Last Emperor, in my opinion, is a masterpiece. The script, flawless. The cinematography, breathtaking. The costume design, perfection. Performances by the actors, on point. So yeah, the film The Last Emperor is simply brilliant. If you haven't seen it, please do. You won't regret it. It's an amazing film. So now the question is, where to watch the top 10 Oscar-nominated and winning films and actors? Well, in the description box below are links to several YouTube channels that have some of the films I mentioned in their entirety, while other films can be found on Amazon, Apple TV, so on and so forth. And there you have it. So join me next week when I will actually be on time. Sorry about being late. I had technical difficulties yesterday, so that's why Royal Film Fridays didn't premiere on the day it was supposed to, but that's okay. Anyway, as I was saying before, join me next week when I will review and recommend a movie for your viewing pleasure. And this time it's going to be a foreign language film that was actually submitted for an Oscar nomination, but didn't make the final round to the Oscar shortlist of nominees. So with that, have a wonderful evening, everyone, and thanks for joining me.